I think it's important to see the story or rewrite the story through your own words by summarizing because it helps you understand it better.
Did you just do what did I learn? That was amazing. That's all I wanted.
Also, I think the main theme of our story is that people change because throughout the book, Bryce and Julie start acting differently.
I agree with Xander because I think that friendship can change over time and that Bryce shouldn't be judging Julie over her material standards like he was in the beginning of the book, but he changed.
Come on, make a discussion. Come on, Chris.
I agree with Brianna and Xander, friends do change and they will start acting different and I totally forgot what I said.
Also, another theme of our story is that attitude is important because it doesn't matter how good you look, if you have a bad attitude, none of that matters. Come on, Chris.
What I think is important of perspective, it was like every perspective was like true or false, which one's true, which one's false. Because Bryce's story, the first chapter he said, and somewhat chapter he said that Julie grabbed his hand wanting to play, and she grabbed his hand wanting to know what's wrong.
I don't agree with Matt because I think that perspective is not about true or false, but how people look on the situation. Cynthia, Kayla, Tyler, Chris.
I know it's not my thing, but I have an example of a true or false because
Brain fart.
yep. We don't know every story that we have, we don't know which one's true, but Julie's story has been telling us the most information that we've ever had. Bryce just gives us the quarters that he thinks.
Yeah, he just gives us like what the bad parts of what he thinks, and he's not telling us the good things.
He just judges her. He's like, my mom tells me that I look at the bad things more than I look at the good things. Bryce is doing the same thing that I do. If there's something happens, when Julie's doing something that she knows is right, Bryce will take it in the most stupidest way and think it's bad. I don't care.
Well, we should. It's a discussion.
No, I don't. It's only that.
Have you learned something
Yes.
about that then? What can you apply to your own life then, since you had such a good personal experience that you shared with that?
I got sent somewhere for looking at something bad. I don't know what I was thinking about. Because that was actually last year. What?
Anyway, I think one of the
I got sent somewhere to get better, and I did change, and I came back, and
And have a different perspective.
I had a different perspective on life. Bryce, and he didn't get sent anywhere, but later on in the story, when he sees Julie for what she really is, he wakes up and like, when did my alarm clock go off?
Ah, good analogy.
I think one of the smaller conflicts in the story is almost like the baker's yard. Because while Julie decides she's going to try to clean it, Bryce just criticizes it for everything that's wrong with it. Tyler, Chris, Chensia, Kayla.
You said a word, Kayla.
You said that one word.
The
four of you guys need to join the
What did you
discussion.
say? I forgot what you said.
I said the four of them need to join the
No,
discussion.
what did you
So
say?
I think another conflict of our story is that Bryce is like judging Julie, and I don't think that's right because Bryce doesn't know what life she has at home, just like what Julie's mom said to Julie in the end of the book.
Exactly. When Julie's young, for an example, Bryce looked at it like, have you ever seen a rodeo? How they got their yard? He looked at it like that.
Yeah.
He took the negative parts out of that and he didn't look at the positive of what she was trying to do to fix the yard.
Tyler, Chris, Chancia, Kayla, join the discussion.
What do you think about the conflicts? Those who haven't discussed.
I actually think it's going back and forth from Julie, and I don't know if it's true or false, but Julie talks more about her side. She tells us what she did, and Bryce tells us what the negative is, or
Like what Julie did.
what
Doesn't
Julie
say anything
did
about
wrong.
what he did really.
Like what he did.
Whatever Julie did to Bryce, he took it like that's wrong.
Or it's right.
I kind of see it in a different way because it's more like he takes it personal than you said.
I agree with Xander because if he doesn't, because if in the first chapter when she got his hand, he took that personally, and Julie was just trying to. Can't remember. I need a book.
I disagree because in the first chapter, no, Julie thought it was personal. Bryce thought of something else. Being along with how different people about the perspective of Juliana and Bryce, it could be like the title flipped. That's what it could be. It's all about. Different perspective as it changes throughout the book.
I'm trying to figure out what this part's at.
So you're saying that the perspective switches
Yes, throughout the story.
Yeah,
as
that's
of who thinks takes it positive and who takes it negative,
Yeah, but they switch.
and
Julian,
it switches
It's a
kind
good
of.
twist.
Juliana was trying to help in. Well, Bryce's chapter was diving under. She tried to help and flip. When she went over there, she was the only person excited. For an instance, she said, the first day I met Brett Lowski, I flipped. And
So Tyler, you're trying to say that so Bryce's
Perspective.
yeah,
Julie was looking at Bryce like he was all
Julie
perfect.
and Julie's went on to Bryce's.
Yes.
Sorry,
That's
sorry.
right.
I'd like to add to that a little bit and say that people are saying different things. Like if Bryce was like saying, well, I was being the nice one, and then Julia was saying, well, he was actually being the rude one, and then it turns into a big argument, and then that's what the book is going back and forth.
Come on, Caleb.
I agree with Brianna because Bryce was just judging her and she thought Bryce liked her, but no, he was thinking his mind of his own self, his own mind self.
Chancia?
Jennifer.
Your opinion matters too.
Okay, I agree with Kayla because throughout the story it really was talking about Julie and Bryce's perspective, and Bryce was really talking about how he
That's all I had.
Okay, Julie was, when she flipped for Bryce, when she flipped for Bryce, she said, when I flip, honestly, when I look at him, I became a lunatic. It's his eyes, something in his eyes. They're blue and framed from the blackness of his lashes. They're dazzling, absolutely breathtaking. She looked at everything that made him look like he was a nice person, but she didn't look at what was
His
inside.
attitude.
Exactly.
I agree with Matthew, but I want to add a little that she was looking at his outside instead of his inside.
I agree with Kayla that Julie's looking at the outside, not the inside. But
Can you give some examples of other things besides his eyes?
there's when before she had her change, she liked him and was just waiting for this.
I'd like to add to what Kayla said by with a personal experience. Kind of, well, not a personal experience with another book, because in Augie, everyone looked at his facial expression or his body and didn't look at his attitude. Compared to in this chapter, everyone looks at his nice looks, but not his bad attitude, instead of in Wonder, where Augie had bad looks but a good attitude.
Or how he is from the inside.
I agree.
I'm gonna change what we're talking about a little bit, but whenever I was summarizing about this story on paper and drawing pictures and everything, it was easier for me to understand. Well, it was easier for me to understand because there was more details that I was writing down, so it helped me understand whenever I was gone and I missed out.
Did you have one more thing you wanted to add?
I do have one thing. I'm
Okay.
trying to find the thing in the book.
Be trying to look.
Okay, and when Matt
Oh,
said
sure,
I need a book, I suddenly realized, that's one thing that I wanted for everyone, because you really should have your books with you. The only reason that I didn't say everyone needs their books with them is because of our book issue where we're trying to find some and I have to send them back.
2 of them are in Alex Mueller's locker.
Okay, 2?
2.
Ooh, good, all right. So, that's the only reason why I didn't put one in everybody's hands, because I actually thought we were gonna have them all gathered up and gone.
Okay, so
But what a
Julie,
wonderful thing to do, and an appropriate thing, and expected thing is to use.
I have one last thing to say.
Let me finish. What you did was you referred exactly to the text and used specific books to support, which is fabulous. Okay.
So in Bryce's chapter of Flipped, he grabbed Julie's hand and asked her if you liked jump running. And she said yes, and he
No, she
replied.
said no.
She
said
yes
yeah.
at first. She said
Not in that way.
She said yes, and he said no. Do you like him? And she said no, not in that way. And he was thinking in his mind, good. She said no. And then he was so blind, and he finally figured out at the second to last chapter that she actually is what she is. He looked at what she really is, what she's useful for.
Okay, very good. All right, before we move, just a minute, let's reflect. What went well in this round? Sabrina? Yeah, and especially at the end, some of you really gained steam and confidence in sharing. That's very important.
I thought at first it was a lot of silence.
Silence and some giggling.
Yeah.
Not really science.
Well, in between them.
Just
and
like,
then everybody started joining in, and it was a lot easier to actually sit there.
Yeah, and to connect those thoughts, right? Graham?
That we were we said everything about what was on our papers, and that we we didn't really repeat anything unless we said that we were agreeing and everything.
Okay, good, Dan.
We used our discussion connectors a lot.
Yeah, you did a very nice job. I love what you did with your discussion statements. Graham?
I did a lot of details or evidence to support their.
Yeah, the evidence makes it so much meatier, gives it so much more substance, like we talked about yesterday. Okay, very quietly switch. Turn off your deputies, please.
I was kicking everybody else, but no one else talked. Kick everybody else. Who's sitting there?
Not sitting there.
I want to get a book.
Everything off your desk, please. All right. And you can remember, you can pick up wherever you want to. You can launch from something that you heard from our first group. Chris said that you can see this. And anyone can start, and all of your input is valuable.
I think the author's message for us is that
people could change if you give them time.
I agree with the Ruby because at the end of the story, Bryce did change, and his and so did Julie's family. On the perspective, they thought of the Lacey's after the divorce.
I kind of disagree and agree because I think that you should try to get them before you judge them. Try to get them to know.
I agree with Tessa because Bryce actually judged Julie before he got to know her.
I agree with both of them because he did judge Julie before he actually got to know her. And at the end of the story, they both realized they felt like strangers to each other. And Julie, at the end of the story, said she would like to get to know Bryce a lot better.
I think that Bryce, dad didn't look at the Bakers different. Like they didn't think they were trespassing in their yard. He was judging them by the appearance of their house instead of by what's inside.
I agree with Tessa because he did judge by the outside, and when Julie brought her eggs over, he thought they were going to get salmonella. But because of what their yard looked like, because there's poop all over the yard from our chickens.
I agree with Tori before she said that. That Julie, at the end of the book, she said that she wanted to meet Bryce in a new perspective. A lot of you is similar to Tessa's because I said that you shouldn't judge people on your first impressions and on their looks.
I think the main conflict is when Julie caught Bryce talking about her uncle in the library, and there was a big fight at the dinner and stuff.
I agree with that, and because the same thing with the eggs, how Bryce threw the eggs away and didn't tell Julie that his family was afraid of salmonella poisoning, and I think that was the right thing to do instead of just saying that to her and throwing it away.
I agree with Tessa about the eggs because I think Bryce did the right thing of telling his mom and about the things. And I also agree because of how Bryce did throw them away, and Julie could have made a couple $100 from him because she's been giving them to him every day for 2 years.
Hunter, we haven't heard your opinion yet.
I agree and disagree with both of you because the main point I think is when
Do you want us to come back to you?
yeah.
I think the main conflict was when Bryce tried to kiss Julie in front of everyone.
I also agree with Amanda because there was a big thing at the Basket Boys lunch together where Bryce started to change and started to get feelings for Julie.
I think Bryce got jealous at that dinner because he saw Julie with another boy and with John, and he didn't want her. He always thought that Julie would have liked him, and I didn't think he liked the idea of her liking someone else.
I agree with Tessa because he always judged her, and when he saw her with him, he started to feel like I don't know how to say it, but then when he saw her, he got kind of jealous. And that's why he asked if she liked John.
Was there possibly a bigger conflict that kind of started those conflicts, maybe?
The dinner.
I think it was about the eggs.
I think it was the eggs because after the egg, she started not to like Bryce as much as she used to, and then and when Bryce told her that her yard looks like a mess, she started cleaning up and planting grass and doing a lot of stuff to her yard.
I think that there was a bigger conflict before that because in the beginning of the story Bryce started hating Julie and avoiding Julie, and that kind of and he didn't trust Julie, so that started because he didn't trust the egg, so that started the egg conflict.
I agree with both of you because I do think those are part of the conflict, and I also think it is when Bryce brought that newspaper to school, and with I think it was Julie on the front, and then in the library they started Garrett and Bryce started talking about her uncle and how retarded she must be because of it, and Julie overheard her, and at the dinner, she said that that he never wanted to talk to him again, and how that's changed her perspective of him because she said she didn't like him anymore and she wasn't ever going to talk to him again.
I would like to add to that, saying that maybe something that Julie had something saying, like when the city march was cut down, Julie was asking people to come up, and she singled Bryce and said, "Will you please come up?" And he didn't, and she might find that something like he didn't want to do that, maybe because he hated her or something. So she might see something in him from that.
I agree with you, and because she did ask Bryce to come up and Bryce rejected her, and at the end he planted a sycamore and he thought about it and said he should have went up there with her.
I disagree with Tori because in Bryce's perspective, he said that he was going to go up with Julie, but he said that he didn't because the bus was there.
Yeah.
I agree with what Hunter said about the eggs, that when Bryce threw away the eggs, Julie got really mad at him, and then that's when Bryce didn't like Julie, and now Bryce is starting to want Julie to talk to him.
Brianna, what do you think about the conflict and stuff?
I think the main conflict is judgment because Bryce is just judging about Julie about how she acts.
I agree with that because he has judged Julie throughout the whole story up to the end.
Josie, you have something, your opinion on the subject of conflict? Hunter, are you ready now?
Huh?
Are you ready to talk?
No.
Well, I learned from the summaries, I learned that you can put stuff in together to make it make sense and help you summarize the book and to see it in a different perspective and how you can come up with your own, you can make connections with it and you can put it in your summary. What do you think about that, Maddie?
Well, I think when you write this summary, I think that you'll start to get to know it better and memorize it.
I agree with that.
I kind of agree because I think when you summarize things, you'll understand the text a little bit more.
Hunter, do you have anything that you learned from making the summaries?
Making summaries that most books, people can make real life connections to them, and if there's more than about one or two, they'll like the book more than books that they can't make very many connections on.
I agree with that. What do you think, Amanda?
I agree with Hunter because like people need to like make connections with the book so they can like know it more and all that.
I agree with Randy because you do, because you can get to know the book a lot better when you summarize and you can remember a lot more of the text.
All right, good job. You guys did such an excellent job. One thing that I saw that was different, that I was really happy with, Sandra especially, but in the first group, really tried to get other people to enter, but didn't give them any, he just kind of went, named the people and didn't give a specific prompt. And both Tori and Tessa did give specific prompts. What is your idea about the subject of conflict? So that's good. You guys did a fabulous job, all of you. Dum-dums? No, we get dum-dums? Well, I think that's